Hi, friends. Welcome. We're releasing this episode as we enter the month of November. But no matter when you're joining us, every season is a good season to cultivate Thanksgiving. I thought it would be fun to offer a series on unconventional gratitude, giving thanks for things that we may not normally consider to be grateful for. And today's topic is risk. Lots of things in life present risks, like big decisions or moves or even adventurous opportunities. Every time we try something new, there's inherent risk. And with our podcast focus of building a conversational relationship with God, it got me thinking. It can feel risky to talk with God and feel risky to take action based on what you hear him say. What if you don't hear anything? What if you hear him wrong? What if you don't like what he says about something? No matter your hesitancies, don't let the risk keep you away. The reward of constantly growing in our relationships with God is definitely worth the journey. And risk becomes a catalyst for gratitude when we see stretching moments and even awkward mistakes as tools that help us know God and rely on Him more. You can likely even look back on past seasons of your life and recognize how what felt daunting or what presented a huge risk in that moment has become a hallmark memory of God's faithfulness or provision and his care in your life. It reminds me of the record of young Samuel learning to hear and respond to God in 1 Samuel chapter 3. Now, Samuel would later become a prophet, an official spokesperson of God's messages. But let's look back at a pivotal experience in his relationship with God. In 1 Samuel 3, he was ministering to the Lord in the temple and hadn't ever heard God speak. 4 times, God calls out his name. And the first 3 times, Samuel thinks it's the priest Eli calling for him. After the third time, Eli realizes that it was God. And so he told Samuel how to respond. And we're picking it up in 1 Samuel chapter 3, verses 10 and 11. And the Lord came and stood, calling as at the other times, Samuel, Samuel. And Samuel said, Speak, for your servant hears. Then the Lord said to Samuel, Behold, I am about to do a new thing. As I talk with God about this story, one of the things we talked about was how I only noticed before how Samuel missed it the 3 times. It wasn't until reading it again that God drew my attention to how Samuel heard him all 4 times. He just didn't know it or didn't know what to do. That's encouraging to me because I can relate. I've had seasons of not hearing God. I've had times I've heard him, but I didn't recognize that he was talking. I've heard him, but didn't realize what he was telling me until much later. And I've also heard him and didn't know what to do with what I heard. I'm so grateful that we get to grow in our relationship with God in all of these ways. Even in the times when I was unsure or I didn't know what to do, God proved faithful and kept inviting me closer. I also love how this story allows us to see God's patience and his persistence to keep speaking even when we don't get it the first time, and the response that we can model of asking God to keep talking with us. Here I am. I'm listening. That's such a great example for times we feel like we don't hear him. We know he speaks, so we ask him to talk with us and we practice listening. There's also so many things related to taking risks with God that can prompt gratitude in our hearts. And so now's the time that we take this concept into conversation with God. Begin by thinking about what you find risky in your relationship with God right now. Consider it so you can talk with God about it. And as you do so, the free resources listed here in the show notes may help, as they include journaling pages and a curated Spotify playlist. Here's our question. God, here I am, and I'd like to talk with you about this area of risk. What's something true that I can hold on to as I take risks and walk with you in this season? As you talk together, ask God how or what do you mean type questions whenever is helpful and express gratitude for what he shares with you. He's calling you by name and he has good in store for you. Here's that question one more time. God, what's something true that I can hold on to as I take risks and walk with you in this season? Have a good talk.